Chapter 3. Open Your Eyes. Jake stands in his apartment doorway, dumbfounded as to why this intruder is before him, and who he actually may be. He's made no short list of enemies who want him dead in his short time bonded to Yamura, but the man's appearance is not immediately familiar. Minimalist decor, Silva says, looking about the bare room. I suppose it's easier to pick up and leave when you've made no sentimental attachments to a location. Who the hell are you, and why did you break into my apartment? Jake growls. The teen's body tenses, ready to spring into action if needed. I'm hurt, Silva says, feigning insult. I suppose I must not have made a big enough first impression. With all that was going on in Clavemont those days, it can be understood if you've forgotten me. You were in Clavemont? Jake whispers. He balls his fists, sliding his right foot back into a light stance. Are you friend or foe? Answer very carefully. I'm not in the mood for games. I'm a scientist. I was brought in to work on Project VR and the Clavemont experiment. I saw you at the warehouse when you battled Rapture and were captured. Seeing you battle Khan's strongest warrior, I knew that you were the only person capable of turning to for help. What kind of help? Khan's mercenaries have been chasing me for weeks. I can't catch a moment to rest. They're hounding me always. They have orders to kill me, and I know that eventually they will succeed if I'm not able to get rid of them first. An uneasy feeling remains in the back of Jake's mind, refusing to dissipate. Why are they so adamant in silencing you? There were other survivors of Clavemont, so why are they expending so many resources on you? I was brought into their confidence on Project VR. There were only a handful of us who knew what was going on, and we were all the loose ends that Conco is desperate to tie up. They haven't come after me yet, and I'm the one who slit the throat of their precious boss man and set all their little projects back God knows how many years. You said it yourself, you wrecked what they'd set up. They're terrified of you. He pauses. They're terrified of what's inside of you. And that's why you come to see me? To protect you from Khan's goons? Jake begins to pace the room. He never takes his eyes off Silva. As a former employee of Conco, he's not to be trusted. How did you find me? I'm not exactly in the yellow pages. I've been off their radar for months, and you bring this war right to my freaking doorstep. Ha! Silva laughs. You've never been off their radar. As dangerous as you are to them, do you really think that they did not keep their eyes on you? You underestimate my intelligence. You really are just a stupid kid, aren't you? Insulting me isn't really going to help endear me to your plight any. I barely know who the fuck you are. So you're going to start answering my questions, or I'm going to make sure you have a very bad day. Silva holds his hands up. Okay. He points to his head. When you had the control chip planted into your brain, a tracking device was also installed. All of Khan's staff are tracked. Tracking those tracking me was the only way I was managing to stay alive long enough to reach you. A tracker, Jake whispers. They've been keeping track of me all this time? You killed the CEO of their company, Silva says. Did you think they'd let that go? You're the biggest threat to Conco. They don't want you coming after them again. Can you remove it? Silva shakes his head. I'm a virologist, not a surgeon. That's far beyond my expertise. Well, thanks for the heads up. Now get the hell out of here. Khan's mercenaries are hunting me. Do you have any idea what they'll do if they get a hold of me? The bastards still running Conco are a lot more ruthless than you seem capable of understanding. Do not be mistaken. Just because you aren't targeted for elimination yet, you are not safe. When you least expect it, they will strike. I appreciate the concern, but I can handle myself. So heartless, Silva whispers. My torture and death won't weigh on your conscience at all. You were all for Khan abducting and experimenting on people. You never stood up against him. When things got chaotic, you stole a parasite and ran. You aren't some noble crusader. You're a cowardly thief. If me or that Brian kid hadn't fought back, you'd still be right in the thick of it with Khan's other lackeys. Would you rather I be silenced and Khanko sweep their illegal activities under the rug? Like it or not, I'm a whistleblower now. My knowledge is valuable. I need your protection. If Khanko silences me, things return to the status quo. People start disappearing again. More GX mutants are then created. Countless people that are not compatible with the parasite become rejects and are disposed of. Jake grinds his teeth together in anger. You're a manipulative scum. I'm a survivor, Silva says matter-of-factly. And so are you. I don't doubt your abilities, but even you have to sleep. I guarantee that Khan's people know exactly when you are at your most vulnerable. You need my insight, just like I need your strength. We need each other to stay alive. Yamura acts as a set of eyes in the back of my head, even while I'm asleep. Those assassins will be very unlucky if they try to attack while I'm out of it. Yamura is much less concerned with not killing opponents than I am. Instead of waiting for them to come after you, why not take the fight to them on your own terms? Jake laughs, but not because he finds anything humorous. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Of course, Silva admits. I'm not going to lie. Staying alive is my utmost priority. I'm starting to get the impression that that should not be much of a problem. You remind me much of a cockroach. Such harsh words for a murderer. Don't act all high and mighty with me. You aren't any better than the monsters hunting me. Jake turns his back. If I'm no better, then I guess coming to me for help was a mistake. Unlike them, you have strong morals. Injustice is something that I can tell eats at your conscience. When that other boy, Storm, attacked the warehouse and set you free the first time, you risked your life to try and save the other victims of the experiment. Not everyone would make that choice. I'm finding it hard to trust anyone that was involved with Khan or his projects. If you knew what he was planning, why didn't you do something? Didn't anyone try to shut him down? You knew they were abducting people, but you just stood by and did nothing. If it weren't for people like Storm and Brian, you would have kept quiet and aided Khan in doing even more evil. Silva nods in understanding. It's a lot to ask of Jake to trust him. No one who worked for Khan should be trusted. When Khan was exposed to be the monster he truly was, I ran for my life. Had I stayed in town, I too would be among those missing. Even without the head of the serpent, the body is still thrashing around quite violently. Any who have ever opposed the company are being hunted down with extreme prejudice. So Khan was no friend of yours, Jake says. But it wasn't exactly like you were a prisoner. You worked for him. I was given a career opportunity, much the same as the other members of Project VR. Unlike them, I will be the first to admit I feigned no bravery. When things got out of control, I did not stick around to see the show. The leftovers of Khanko have been pursuing me ever since. While evading their pursuit, I learned that Khan himself had been killed. I have you to thank for that. Jake nods, having cut open Antonio Khan's throat as Yamura several months earlier. Yeah, he got what was coming to him. I don't disagree. From all the things I've run across in the aftermath of Clavemont, I have come to see that man as an even bigger monster than you could imagine. He had many other projects in the works all across the globe. We only saw one arm of the vast operative structure and play in Clavemont. There are a great deal other facilities still at nearly full operational status elsewhere. Even without Khan leading them, the facility directors are continuing along with their dark projects unhindered. There are others, like the Clavemont facility. Jake is nearly speechless. To believe a single company has the resources to run multiple locations with the kind of security and scale as he saw in Clavemont is unbelievable. Before you panic, Clavemont was Khan's pet project. His greatest focus was on that facility, so his top personnel were all overseeing operations. The other locations do not have the kind of muscle behind them as did Clavemont. Why are you telling me all this? Are you planning something? Khan's lackeys are not going to stop hunting me until they succeeded in putting an end to my life. The only way I'm ever going to be free of them will be to take the fight to them. Jake narrows his gaze. And that's why you came to me. Because I told you earlier I feign no bravery. I am not a warrior. I've expended every trick and ounce of luck I have, evading Khan's security this long. It's only a matter of time before I slip up, and it's game over for me. Why do you think that I would help you take down the rest of Conco? This isn't my fight. I got my revenge on Khan for putting me under his control and trying to use me as a slave. What his successors do in his absence is not my concern. So the rumors of you engaging in a spectacular battle in the city of Totikahachi against the Sakari Queen and Yano were false? My pursuers believe you to be some kind of avenging angel, a larger-than-life superhero. I am no angel or hero, Jake whispers. I never stop making terrible mistakes. And not taking down the rest of Conco would be another mistake, I promise you. More tragedies like Clavemont are scheduled. Do you think the remaining directors are going to stop their research just because the company's figurehead is gone? As long as the company continues making money, the remaining employees are going to see to it that their work goes on. Project VR was not the most ambitious project on the table. I have caught glimpses of what some of the other directors have in the works, and they are terrifying. Damn it, Jake groans. He knows he can't ignore this threat. If any other people were to die because of his inaction, he'd never be able to forgive himself. I'm not agreeing to help you, but tell me what you know. Silva nods. I am a virologist. Khan brought me into his project for a reason. Administering the GX parasite is a long process that requires preparation and careful monitoring. Khan's hopes were that I could eliminate much of that time by combining the parasite with a non-lethal virus. You're fucking kidding me, right? Khan wanted to make the parasite infectious? Again, Silva nods. If mass numbers of people could be infected at once, it would drastically cut down the time spent searching for potential candidates, and the extra time wasted on them should they become rejects. Honestly, it was a brilliant plan. We can argue the morality of it, of course, but in the realm of efficiency, it was a top-notch strategy. Khan is dead, Jake says, hatred in his expression. Even dead, the CEO of Conco continues to ruin lives. I know that for a fact. I don't doubt that claim, but his plans continue to live on in his absence. From what I've gathered, Khan's old number 2, Han Hayanaro, is in charge of the company. Hayanaro lacks the same ruthless business edge that Khan had. Several of his other top employees sit in positions poised to try and take Hayanaro's seat by force. Among them are the various regional directors. While there is a struggle for dominance, there grows a void in power in the company, and is that makes it more vulnerable now more than ever. Should the right person seize that power, many of our biggest fears would likely alleviate. Deborah Brood is the most dangerous threat of all those vying for power. If anything is to be done to stop Conco's future plans, it must start with the removal of her. You don't sound like someone who wants to shut Conco down, Jake says, beginning to feel a sickness in the pit of his stomach. His mistrust of most people is for good reason. Silva's true colors are beginning to show. It sounds to me like you just need someone to take out your rivals. If we could knock off the current power structure, the company could be repurposed for good. How could you pass up the opportunity to use all of those vast resources to help people? You don't want to help people. You only want to help yourself. That isn't true. I do not enjoy hurting others like Khan and his ilk. It is so wrong to seek a secure financial future for myself while also doing good. There's no need for you to be the constant martyr, Jake. You can have something more, do greater things. There it is again. That idea of doing something greater. Am I truly wasting potential living my life in the way that I am? Jake wonders. You can help so many people. We can stop so many lives from being destroyed, like those Khan has already. With all of the wealth and resources of Conco at our disposal, we could be untouchable. I think I've heard enough, Jake finally says, interrupting Silva's excited speech. You and I don't want the same things. But, Silva whines, I can't take them down without you. I can't even get past their lowest mercenaries. I can help you get the ones pursuing you off your back. But beyond that, we're done. Would recommend you disappear and forget all about trying to take on the remnants of Conco. Coward! Silva screams. I'll find a way to do this without you, and you will regret not helping me. Mark my words, Jake Stewart. Making an enemy of Victor Silva is not something you want. I'll take my chances, Jake replies, pointing to the door. We're done here, and don't break into my apartment again, or I'll break something of yours in return. Kicked out of Jake's apartment, the frustrated scientist is caught unaware by several of his pursuers. Trying to drum up some extra support, one of the assassins says, mocking Silva. Doesn't look like you succeeded. Silva tenses, fearing he's about to be killed. With no way to escape, he can do nothing but try and stall his death a few more moments. Khan is dead. What does one missing sample mean to a dead man? You're the only dead man here. Now hand over the sample and we'll make it quick. Do you think I'd be stupid enough to keep the parasite on my person? Kill me, and you'll never be able to retrieve the sample. The assassin laughs. As long as you can't sell the parasite to a rival company, I don't care what happens to it. Out of options, Silva lowers his head in defeat. He made a good run out of it, but he really couldn't evade them forever. Go ahead and get it over with. I've never been one for building anticipation. Oh, did you think we were just going to off you like that? The assassin laughs. We were hired to make you suffer much more than death. Inside, Jake debates whether or not he made the correct choice in turning down Silva's offer. We could have used Conco's resources to find the missing people of Clavemont. Maybe we could even have used their research teams to develop a way to neutralize Cedrion's abilities. I do not believe we could have trusted that man, Yamura says. Something about him left me uneasy. Besides, do you truly believe that the employees loyal to Khan would have tolerated the murderer of their boss among them? We'd have been quickly betrayed. Agreeing, Jake tries to figure out what Silva will do next. Do you think he'll use us as a bargaining chip to the remnants of Conco? If he was able to find us so easily, I'm sure that Khan's forces are already fully aware of our location. If anything, he learned of our location from them. That isn't comforting at all. If they knew where we were, why haven't they attacked us yet? Perhaps they are unsure if they could actually defeat us with their current strength. If the company is being operated by multiple independent facilities, there likely no longer exists a central force of operatives to pull from. The brief flicker of Sakati energy catches Yamura's attention. What was that? Jake asks. Do we need to be ready for a fight? Several humans enhanced with Sakari blood, but they're already gone. The mercenaries hunting Silva, Jake whispers. They got him. We do not have time to worry about that man's fate. There are more pressing concerns for us to focus upon. Jake nods. Yeah, we need to be ready for when the inevitable fight does come. If those assassins want Silva's head, surely they want us even more after what we did to their boss. Cutting the throat of someone's employer probably isn't something that the rest of Conco is gonna let slide. Any one of those parasite bastards still alive are going to be gunning for us with every bit of muscle they can scrounge up. We're looking at one hell of a battle ahead. We've struggled against Rapture and a few of the others. If they attack us in higher numbers, we may not be able to win. Yamura is silent, not knowing the answer. All they can do is wait. When the time comes, they'll face whatever lies ahead of them. This cannot be real. This must be a nightmare. Any second I will awaken and I will be gone from this hell. Able to hear the thoughts of its prisoners, the grotesque Rudderkin guard begins to laugh. This is no dream, girlie. This place is as real as the air or land. The best part is, you never age, so you get to stay here with me for all eternity. Inyana screams with rage, attempting to strike the creature with all of her remaining strength. The demon catches her fist in its massive reptilian hand and begins to laugh even harder. Still feisty, huh? It will be all the more fun to break you. The Rudderkin pulls Inyana off balance and delivers a kick to the ribs. Inyana screams out in agony, feeling the bones in her side shatter. She tries to defend herself, but the demon guard backhands her against the wall of her cell. Darkness begins to overtake the Sakari as she slips into unconsciousness. She is not awake as they begin to peel the flesh from her bones. Inyana jerks awake with a loud scream. She looks around, sweating and pale, only to see that she is still on the forested island of Jockey. Another nightmare? Kazura asks. You seem to get those pretty frequently. Inyana splashes cool water on her face from a stream. You would too if you were killed and sent to hell. I do not wish to imagine such a scenario. I very much prefer the life that I have now. I lack the will to keep fighting as you. I fear I would break rather quickly in that place. It is not somewhere I wish to return. Once I have the Yazatan artifact from the shrine, I will begin my ascension to ruling this world. Even if you do succeed in conquering this world, how do you plan on conquering death? I am sure the Yazata have methods of immortality they would share if given the right price. You think you can barter with the Yazata to keep yourself from going to hell? Inyana nods. They revived me once. They must have need for me to remain alive. I will not squander that opportunity. I will do everything possible to keep it that way. Provence, France, December 1st, 1998. Ishef Drakovic works in the basement of his mentor, Gideon Levi's home. It has been days since he alone returned from their trip to America. While Ishef was busy studying the spirits of vengeful Native Americans, Levi was at the side of the mass deaths of the city of Totokahatchee, Florida. Levi fought against the pure, raw emotion of over 1,000 lives struck down suddenly in violence. That hatred spawned a conglomerate malice known as Agasha Takuru. The necromancer gave his life to bind the vengeful spirits to a contract. Ishef now holds this very contract, as well as one written in a moment of grief and panic. On the table that he works at, the corpse of a deceased villager is cut open in multiple places. Tubes stick out from the wounds, draining the corpse's fluids into multiple buckets. The necromancer uses the fluids of the dead to create potions for various purposes. The magic of a necromancer is considered a dark and forbidden art, and is not taught by the mages of Endelgion. The only way to learn the spells of necromancy is to be taught them by a practicing necromancer. The Knights of Solomon have tried to wipe out all practitioners of this form of magic for nearly 2,000 years, but so long as one manages to exist, they will always be able to pass on what they know to the next generation. "I apologize, Master," Aisheth whispers, "but I cannot continue to let Zelina think you are not coming home. Knowing you are dead would break her spirit." It is raining outside, and a loud crackle of thunder sounds. The main entrance to the home swings open. Zelina hurries over to shut the door and keep out the rain. She stops when she sees a dark figure standing in the doorway. "Father?" Zelina whispers. Gideon looks down, eyes vacant. Zelina has seen enough resurrected corpses to know one by appearance. The teen's heart breaks instantly. "No, this cannot be," she cries. Aisheth rushes up the stairs. "Master, welcome home." "Aisheth, you fool!" Zelina cries. "What have you done to him?" "I spared you the pain of separation. I could not bear the thought of you in pain. I know how much your father meant to you, to the both of us. I love your father. You are my family." "Why didn't you tell me? Did you think that I wouldn't know the difference? I've grown up around necromancy my entire life. I can tell a dead body from a living one." "I do not know what I was thinking, honestly. I suppose I was having difficulty coping with the loss myself." "You have to release his soul," Zelina cries. "You cannot keep him bound as your slave." "I never intended to make him my slave. I swear to you, I was only trying to keep our lives the way they were before. I could not allow Master Gideon to leave us." Gideon snarls at them, and Aisha thinks that he's trying to communicate. "Souvenir des morts." "Damn you," Gideon growls. "You have damned me. I am cursed. Pain, anger, they control me. I cannot block them out. They are my only thoughts." "Release his soul from the suffering," Zelina cries. "Put his spirit to rest." Gideon turns towards Zelina, reaching out for his daughter. Zelina trembles, unable to run. The animated corpse slowly closes its fingers around the teen's neck and begins to squeeze. "Hate. Life," Gideon growls, his humanity burning away more each moment. Zelina continues to struggle to breathe, clawing at the corpse's arms. "Let her go," Aisheth orders. Gideon immediately does as told. "See? I can control him. We have nothing to fear. I will not allow him to harm you. He can live in the basement. It will be as if he never left." "Listen to yourself. He is not a pet. You cannot control him. The undead will always seek to destroy the living. You cannot change what is his very nature now." Aisheth summons the contract, trembling. "I cannot do it," he whispers. "Kill," Gideon growls. "Kill you and be free." Aisheth rolls up the scroll and speaks several command words. "Rejecter la convocation." Gideon's form bursts into flames, banished back into the summoning scroll.
Damn you,
Zelina cries.
You were supposed to exorcise him, not return his soul to slavery.
I promise you that I will find a way to return your father to true life. I will discover the missing secret that bridges the gulf between life and death. His soul will not move on so long as I keep him bound. It would be nigh impossible to try and extract his soul from the afterlife.
Do you hear yourself? You sound like a madman.
Who better to conquer death than a necromancer? I already have a greater understanding of life, death, and the afterlife than most mortals. I know that I can unravel the mysteries of death that have eluded mankind since the first of us perished.
Get out!
Zelina screams.
Get out of my house and never come back!
Zelina, Aishith whispers.
Don't. I said get out! I never want to see you again. I hate you for what you've done.
Aishith leaves, heartbroken. His only family has cast him out into the cold and rain. He pulls his cloak close and disappears into the night. Zelina slams the door closed and leans her back against it, sliding down to the floor and sobbing hysterically. One of the Sakati assassins removes a bag from Silva's head. The scientist's eyes are bruised and nearly swollen shut. Tied to a chair, the man has been beaten multiple times into unconsciousness. Awake again? The assassin asks. You came out of it much quicker this time. I think you're adapting.
What are you doing?
Silva coughs.
Why won't you just kill me?
Because I want to know why you were selected for Khan's pet project, the doctor says, entering the dark room.
Who are you?
I'm a former associate of Khan's. I am the man who supplied him with many of his precious enhanced soldiers. I took his alien parasite and turned it into something useful.
You're the doctor.
The doctor nods. I am. And you, Dr. Silva, what is your usefulness? Why were you chosen? Out of all the brilliant minds on this planet, why were you picked above all the others?
It wasn't Khan's men hunting me, Silva whispers. They were yours.
Those Khan left behind couldn't find their own assholes right now. Do you really believe they would have wasted their resources hunting you down?
I stole a sample of the GX parasite. With Clavemont gone, there can't be too many of those left lying around.
Oh, it is a rare commodity indeed, and I would very much like for you to give it to me. But there are other matters to discuss first. I want to know what you contributed to the team. If you're convincing enough, I may find that I have a similar position to fill on my own staff. I was handpicked by Khan for my brilliant mind and unequaled knowledge of virology and pathogens. The doctor's not impressed. And? Silva becomes more nervous. Khan was aware of special activities that I was engaged in that would have made me an international terrorist. Have you ever heard of the Syrian death cloud? It was a mysterious gas cloud deployed on Syrian rebels that killed thousands. The regime in charge at the time never claimed responsibility for the attack, but benefited from it nonetheless. The entire international community believed them behind the attack, though it could not be proven. Silva nods. It was not a chemical. It was viral. I was paid by the Archon regime to develop a bioweapon that would be untraceable and have a 100% mortality rate, that would be dispersed with rain and have no lasting after effects. When I was brought onto Project VR, the intention was for me to weaponize the GX parasite. When everything went to shit in Clavemont, my involvement had not become necessary yet. How might you have weaponized the parasite? Currently, the efficiency of creating enhanced warriors is very low. Only a minute number of people can successfully bond with the parasite, and all others become mindless creatures we call rejects.
I proposed a plan to package the parasite with viral proteins and create a virulent strain of GX that could be delivered as an airborne gas before converting to a fluid-based transmission system. Entire localized populations could become infected, and rather than spending the weeks needed to create a single GX-enhanced warrior, I could create hundreds in only days. It is true that it currently takes a lot of time and effort to create a GX warrior. The secret as to why some succeed and most others fail still eludes me. A population of several thousand would still yield several hundred successes if the rate is even close to 1%. A GX virus, the doctor whispers. Overnight, it would become the strongest weapon on the planet. A whole new arms race would begin across the globe, with every party coming to you to upgrade their forces. All of my resources are at your disposal, the doctor says, waving the Cicadi over to release Silva. Whatever you promise to Khan, I demand you deliver to me. Silva nods. I will begin work immediately. We will do great things together, Dr. Silva. Great things. I look forward to it. Brighton, Florida, December 2nd, 1998. On their lunch break, Jake sits beside Claire outside on a park bench. The hot and humid air makes the temperature feel much worse than it is. Growing up in the north, Jake isn't used to such conditions on a daily basis. In Indiana, the temperature can reach the 90s on some hot summer days, but it fluctuates wildly, and the next day may mean it's back down into the 70s. There's no such relief in Florida. Once it becomes hot, it stays that way. Do you have any other interests besides caffeine? Claire asks, smiling as Jake opens up a can of Rad Raccoon energy drink. Jake swallows a large mouthful of the beverage and looks down at the can in his hand. Huh? You pound those things like a crackhead, Claire laughs. You're either going to have diabetes by the time you're 30, or your heart's going to explode well before. Despite no longer fighting Yamura constantly for control and avoiding sleep as much as possible, the habits that Jake formed are hard to break. Consuming 9 or 10 energy drinks a day on top of multiple cups of coffee forms a strong dependency on the drug. While it provided him a way to combat sleep by keeping him alert longer, the after effects of the caffeine also had many downsides. Jake is troubled by stomach aches, anxiety, difficulty breathing, concentrating, and bouts of acid reflux, irritability, and spasms of muscle pain and discomfort. At this point, if he goes even an hour or two without some kind of caffeine, he's troubled by migraines. Because of the high doses in which he was consuming, Jake's tolerance for the drug has also continued to increase. He knows he needs to kick the habit soon, before it leads to worse problems, but for now, he hasn't thought of it as the most pressing concern in his life. With the impending resurrection of Grand General Hui and the manipulative fallen Yaza to Cedrion trying to control his fate, drinking too many sodas has been put on the back burner. When his life is calm enough to be able to focus on his more human problems, then maybe he'll deal with his caffeine dependency. Until then, he must continue to prioritize. Jake shrugs and takes another drink. I won't live to see 20, so why care about 30? He freezes, angry at himself for having said too much. The less he speaks about his situation, the safer it will be for Claire. Claire's eyes narrow with concern. What do you mean by that? I live pretty recklessly. I'm sure I'll pick the wrong fight one day, and that'll be all she wrote for me. Do you fight often? More than I'd like to, Jake admits. There always seems to be someone who wants my head. Oh, Claire says, a little nervous. Are you, like, in a gang or something? Jake laughs. No, but I accidentally get wrapped up in a cult once. That didn't end well. He notices her expression has not changed. It's a long story. Anyways,
I like music and movies, video games, sports, all the typical things a boy my age should like. Being evasive. What are you hiding? She asks, staring into Jake's eyes. He shifts uncomfortably. Me? He feigns insult. I am 100% transparent. I'm a regular jellyfish of transparency. Jellyfish have no spine. Is that you as well? Is that why you ran away? Ouch. Ease up on the insults there, Triumph. What? Claire says, not understanding Jake's reference. Jake shrugs. Can't win them all. But no, I'm not hiding anything. Everyone is hiding something, especially someone who says they aren't hiding something. Even you? I'm sure my secrets are a lot darker than yours. Jake laughs, causing Claire to be startled by his odd response. Oh, I would take that bet in a heartbeat. There is nothing you could have seen or done that would compare to my most boring day this past year or so. I just don't know what to make of you, Claire says, shaking her head. There's something off about you, but I don't think you're dangerous. Maybe I have bad instincts. It's complicated, Jake says. Even I don't know myself that well most of the time. I'm just kind of winging it here. You ran away from home without any kind of plan? Was it really that bad that you couldn't stop to think about what you were going to do when you got here? I was kind of on a timer. I didn't really have the luxury of preparation. Now that I'm here, though, I do have a few things that I know I have to take care of. He pauses. I'm just a little scared to engage those problems. Claire places a hand on his. You aren't alone. I can help you if you ask. Jake smiles. I appreciate the offer, I do. It's just not the sort of thing I can bring you into. My life is way too dangerous right now. Claire stands up to return to work. I'm not going to give up. You have my interest now, Jake Stewart. I'm going to make you open up to me and explain what's really going on. You don't realize how determined I am when I make my mind up. Jake laughs. Sorry, but I'm going to make this be a challenge for you. I'm not giving up without a fight, I told you. I have a little experience in that area. Brian screams loudly again and again, but no one pays him any attention. Because of his unique bond with the GX parasite, the doctor has drawn Brian's blood and conducted numerous painful tests to determine what actually it is that makes him so special. If the doctor could learn what it is in the teen's genetic structure that allowed for him to go from a bookworm who never stood up to anyone in his life to becoming equal to the most elite warriors on the planet, how much stronger then could he make men who are already accomplished fighters? We haven't begun the really painful stuff yet, kid, the doctor says, entering the room. You really should save your voice. Once I've discovered your secret, I will begin the mental reconditioning process. Now that will hurt. Is that what you did to Lynn? Brian asks, tugging at his restraints. The teen's wrists are raw from the effort. You won't be able to break free this time, the doctor explains. Those restraints are made from a special alloy recovered from the very same spaceship that originally housed the GX parasite. The metal is far stronger than any combination of elements currently known to our science. What about Lynn? Did you brainwash her? Is that why she attacked us? Is that what you intend to do to me? Make me your slave? Khan was so quick to discard his adversaries. I, however, can see the potential in people. I rescued that girl from death. I gave her a new life and purpose. I am not her oppressor. I am her savior. You stole her life from her. She doesn't even know who she is really anymore. You're as big a monster as Khan ever was. Monster? I am a visionary. Khan could never see beyond a bottom line. My plan for this world goes far beyond wealth and power.
I will foster in a new evolution for humanity. The weakened and diseased will perish, and the strongest will endure to pass on their traits to the next generation. I will be the one to guarantee that we as a species no longer rushes headfirst into our own extinction. I was wrong. You aren't a monster. You're just insane. The doctor shrugs. Call it what you want. In a few hours, you won't remember any of this anyway. Candy Stripe and Silva enter the room. Remarkable, Silva whispers, seeing Brian completely subdued. You really do have the boy captive. His eyes scan the room. Does that mean the biosuit is here as well? I have specialists working to reverse engineer Khan's technology. It's becoming increasingly apparent that the reported multiple excursions Khan's forces undertook to the crash site yielded more than just the GX parasite. I believe Khan was holding out on us. You think some of the biosuit's tech is alien in origin? Silva asks. I have hired some of the greatest minds from around the world, and they cannot make heads or tails of many of the suit's primary systems. How else would you explain that leap in knowledge? Brian listens in wonder, hearing the suspicions that the suit only he has been able to successfully utilize may be extraterrestrial in origin. If we could produce multiples of the biosuit, any soldier wearing it would be nearly invincible, Silva says. Your Sakati assassins would double their combat effectiveness instantly. We would still run into the problem of successful bonding of host and parasite. Currently, we have no way to determine who will take the process and who will deteriorate into a mindless reject. It would be a waste of resources to manufacture suits only to lose most of them to rampaging creatures. Brian struggles against his restraints even more furiously. You can't do this! A weapon that dangerous can't be controlled. You'll kill millions. Millions is a low estimate. From what we've seen thus far of GX bonding rate, billions will die, the doctor replies. For the first time in this planet's history, a species will be able to direct the course of their own evolution and save themselves from extinction. Earth's resources are finite. We consume like a plague, devouring all without worrying about how to conserve anything for future generations. The inequality is so great that a handful sit in luxury, while the vast majority of people struggle to find enough food to prevent starvation each day. I will create a balance. Rich and poor, young and old, black and white, all will be equally tested by the GX virus, and only the genetically superior will endure. You may be able to hide your flaws with enough money, but you cannot change your fate when it comes to GX. All will be judged, and only the very best will live on. You're even crazier than Khan was. The GX parasite isn't some evolutionary tool. It's a damned alien tapeworm. Many scientists throughout history have believed in the theory of panspermia. Are you familiar with this theory, child? Brian merely glares at the doctor. The theory of panspermia goes on to suggest that life on this planet was originally seeded here in the form of microorganisms extraterrestrial in source, likely brought here inadvertently among space debris and meteorites. If one subscribes to the notion that life originated here from space, why is it so unbelievable to think that our next step of evolution couldn't also? Even the mitochondrial organelle is widely thought to have been a foreign body that our systems eventually integrated into their own over evolutionary time. And what do you call all the people whose bodies reject the parasite, transforming them into reptilian cannibal monsters? Evolution constantly produces dead ends before coming up with the ideal plan. When the wheat is separated from the chaff, humanity will be purified of all genetic flaws. I believe it's possible to reduce the number of rejects created by studying what makes people like you so damn special, Silva says, drawing a vial of Brian's blood for his own projects. There's no such thing as coincidence, only commonalities so minuscule that they go unnoticed by most. A link must exist between the successes of the GX program, and once discovered, We'll be able to influence who can bond with the parasite at will. The doctor nods in agreement. Your blood is an instruction manual that we will translate for the masses. Regardless of genetic inferiority, all people will have an equal chance to share in our evolution. Anyone you choose to bring along for the ride, Brian growls. Such is our burden, the doctor grins. To save humanity from itself, her numbers will have to be culled considerably. Silva leans in close as he finishes drawing Brian's blood. Your contribution to our future as a species cannot be understated. You are a true hero indeed. The Hole. Huey's underground temple, Brighton, Florida. Beneath the city of Brighton are man-made tunnels built through the top of an underground limestone cave system. Because of the low elevation of the state, most of the cavern is filled with water, but there are sections that open up into large rooms. The tunnels themselves are dark and cold, and there are many openings in the walls due to cave-ins, allowing the ancient cavernous air to be felt through a chilling breeze. There are places where the tunnels narrow and become more claustrophobic due to corresponding sections of the cavern narrowing. Stalactites drip water into the darkness where the caverns open up. Stalagmites rise up to meet the hanging mineral deposits in thick columns. Lanterns hang along the walls of the tunnels, but the light's barely adequate to illuminate the path forward. Ancient seashells are embedded into the limestone, showing the tremendous age of the caverns that once existed beneath a deep ocean. The caverns themselves are roughly 40 million years old and relatively unexplored. It's unknown who first constructed the tunnels above them, but it's widely accepted by the followers of Hui that it was their own predecessors that built them. Those who venture into the tunnels can swear that they sometimes hear things crawling around just out of their sight. Large creatures that seem to follow them as they walk but never come into view. It's rumored that many people have gone missing in the tunnels, falling prey to the creatures that lurk within the shadows. Craig Delgado kneels before the altar of Hui, offering his devotion. Feeding off the prayers of his followers, the Sakari's power continues to grow. The day has come, Hui says, excitement in his ghostly voice. All of these millennia, I shall again walk in this world. Your coronation is long overdue, my lord, Craig says. Humanity does not deserve your grace, yet I shall make them accept it regardless. Have you organized the half-breeds to bring to me the final and most important sacrifice? I've leased the finest warriors the doctor has to offer, and they are already en route to bring them here to us. You feel no hesitation or remorse bringing this sacrifice to me. Craig shakes his head. She means nothing to me. Not anymore. I shed my past, and everyone in it, when I devoted my life to you. That pleases me, Hui says, still excited. He cannot wait to return to the human world that imprisoned him so long ago. With Inyana gone, he is poised to stand at the top and rule over all. The reward of your devotion will be greater than you could ever possibly imagine. Craig smiles, lowering his head in reverence. Thank you, my lord. On a plane bound from Washington, D.C. to a private airfield outside of Totikahatchee, Florida, agents of the Paranormal Investigation Agency prepare for what will likely be a violent confrontation. The city of Brighton has become a hotbed of NHE activity in the recent weeks, Agent Callahan says, briefing the other agents. In the past 48 hours, that activity has surged alongside numerous missing persons and bodies being found completely drained and withered, as if rapidly aged and removed of all moisture. A younger agent named Tommy Lachey speaks up for clarification. What do you mean they were rapidly aged? I mean it quite literally, Agent Callahan says, distributing several crime scene photos of the mummified corpses. These victims are all in their 20s and 30s. How long have they been dead? Asks Agent Martha Ray, a former CIA operative recently recruited by the budding agency. They look like they've been pushing up daisies since Roosevelt was president, Lachey laughs. An NHE that can age and drain the lives of its victims? Sounds pretty terrifying, Agent John Crawford says, a veteran of the LAPD. Agent Callahan nods. The coroner estimates are a maximum of 3 hours in any of the victims. Their bodies have been quarantined, and we have specialists working to analyze them. But we have to assume the absolute worst. A revenant, a deep female voice says. Her voice is cold and emotionless. Instead of wearing the standard paramilitary tactical gear of the other agents, she and her companion Bernard Rom are clad in dark cloaks and keep their faces mostly covered. The agents find the duo unnerving and wonder what exactly the two specialize in. Both cloaked figures speak with thick Eastern European accents. They are coming from the ruins of Totikahachi. That place is cursed. It has become a hotbed of evil spirits. The fabric between life and death has become weakened, and terrible creatures of the waste are able to claw their way into our world. Is that your professional opinion? Agent Callahan asks. Even he is uneasy around the hardened warriors. Alyssa Tarum lowers her hood, staring at the team leader with cat-like eyes. Black veins snake up her neck, branching out into tiny fingers on her cheeks and around her eyes. I do not joke about such things. Only a revenant could have done this. Revenants are not a new creature, Bernard adds. They are well documented throughout history if you know where you're looking. Alyssa nods, agreeing with her longtime companion. It was not long ago that a revenant terrorized the town of Rockland, Indiana. Agent Lachey's interest peaks. Hey, isn't that near the hometown of Jake Stewart? That would explain the creature's appearance so close to Totikahachi, Agent Ray says. You think the revenants are somehow connected to Stewart? Agent Callahan asks. The revenants live in a twilight world in between ours and that of the dead. Whenever a tear occurs in the fabric between these worlds, these creatures are able to slip through and feed on the life energy that draws them here, Alyssa explains. Stewart's battle against Inyana could have torn a hole large enough for multiple revenants to pass. Stewart isn't the only anomalous NHE connected to Brighton, Agent Callahan adds. A man going by the alias The Doctor also operates out of this city. That doesn't sound like a big deal, Agent Lachey says. Every city has a few doctors. What's so bad about this guy? Is he really an NHE? The Doctor is a suspected terrorist and arms dealer, using the alien GX parasite discovered by Khan. The Doctor blends demon and Sakari blood to create blended super soldiers called Sakati. Sort of like the Russian Wonder Twins here, Agent Lachey laughs. Ukraine, Alyssa corrects, not amused. Our enhancement is a natural process performed for hundreds of years by the masters of our order. The Masilvits are not some science project, Bernard argues. Our power comes from the ritual ingesting of our foe's blood, not test tubes and vaccinations. The Masilvits clan has protected townsfolk from monsters for centuries. Each generation, a handful of the most exceptional children are selected to undergo the trials and become one of the Masilvits hunters, Alyssa explains. It's clear that both of the specialists have great pride in their history and traditions. That's what we are, babe, Lachey says with a grin. We're monster hunters too. While your people are just now learning about monsters, I slew my first creature at age 9. You have had privilege in your ignorance, hiding in your buildings of metal in vast cities. Where we come from, people huddle around fires praying that they will survive the night. Monsters roam the forests, picking people off one by one,
careful never to overharvest and wipe out an entire village, Alyssa says. Thoughts of battling monsters of the past cause her bloodlust to peak. She wants nothing more than to hunt immediately. I lost my sister to a Varkolak when I was only 4. She was 12, and she shielded me from its claws and fangs with her own body. I would have been killed if not for her. My sister's blood is my cloak and armor, even now. Her death is my reason for hunting. Have any of you lost loved ones to monsters? That kind of motivation is essential to becoming a Misselvet. You must always have the desire to wipe out all evil creatures off the face of the earth, to spare others from the same pain that you felt. This is what drives our clan, Bernard says. Alyssa nods. Both of my parents were devoured by Nazetsers and become cursed to roam the world as malevolent spirits themselves, until a Misselvet came to our village and set their souls to rest. I was taken by this Misselvet to her clan to be put into training to become a hunter myself. We all have our reasons, but we share a hatred of those creatures that lurk in the shadows and prey upon our most helpless. While Callahan has never heard of most of the creatures the hunters speak of, he understands their pain and their drive. My older brother Zach was killed in Iraq, fighting against Saddam's forces. I joined the army as soon as I was able, tried to kill as many Iraqis as possible. I learned quickly that was not noble or even a safe path to take. That hatred fueling me would eventually have gotten me killed. Dying in battle is the only worthy death, Bernard says. Your brother would be disappointed. Callahan bites his tongue. I don't agree. I think my brother would have wanted me to live my life free from revenge. Besides, I haven't given up fighting. I'm just fighting a different threat now. Bernard scoffs. You Americans are all too soft. You do not have enough monsters left in this land to keep you in fear and make you stronger. Your Indians did too good a job of purging most of them from the land. It's true that most accounts of American creatures were first sourced from native lore. Many types of creatures were said to have been almost completely eradicated by the Native Americans years before the Europeans ever arrived. Regardless, something is happening to cause NHEs to become more aggressive here in the States. Whether it's a growing population or a surge in the desperation of those that remain is unknown. What we do know is that there are more and more NHE attacks, and it's our job to stop them. Now, are you going to help us, or simply criticize our soft Western ideals? Callahan asks. Alyssa laughs. I like this one. He has large yayeshka. Whenever monsters attack, we will go, Bernard says. I will not rest until they are all dead. The hunt never ends, Alyssa agrees. When one hunter falls, another will always pick up his bow and continue the hunt. This is our way. Before the conversation can continue, another agent hands Callahan the comm phone. Callahan, the senior agent says, connecting to a direct line with headquarters. We've received intel from a reliable source on the ground in Brighton, Director Rice says. As soon as you land and reach Brighton, you are to meet up with the contact at the Scarlet Inn on South Walker Avenue. Who's this source? What's the intel? All I can say is that they're a survivor of Clavemont, Director Rice replies. They have proof of the doctor's illegal experiments. You will work on the intel they provide you and gather as much evidence as possible to build a case to bring down the doctor and expose his connections to Conco. Yes, sir, Agent Callahan replies. He hangs up and addresses his team. Our main priority is switched from the Revenant to the Doctor. The Revenant is going to continue killing until it's stopped, Alyssa argues. We should split up and deal with both problems simultaneously. What can we expect from these Revenants? Do they have any weaknesses? Callahan asks. I said that we will handle the undead creatures. You and your team will take care of the Doctor and his mercenaries. Alyssa says. You agree with her assessment? Agent Callahan asks Bernat, who nods. But what if the Revenants have expanded their hunting grounds? The whole city could be at risk, Lachey asks. Leave the hunt to us, Lisa says. Tracking the Revenants should not be difficult. Life withers wherever they go. We will follow that trail of death to its source, and send the creatures to hell with true death. True death? Callahan asks. Revenants have nearly regained the form of their old mortality through consuming life energy. By killing them and exorcising their spirits, we send them to hell where they can no longer find living beings to gain more strength. Once in hell, they can never return, Alyssa explains. The more a revenant has fed, the more powerful they become. A revenant that has consumed hundreds of lives is said to evolve into a creature that even we have never seen. A blaspheme. It is believed that once a revenant has become a blaspheme, it can think and act independently of instinct. Let's hope we never have to face one of those, Callahan says. Stopping the revenants is our only concern. Consuming life energy in an American city will be much easier than hunting in a remote village. If they are not stopped, we may indeed be forced to deal with our first blaspheme. Bernard says, so we need to move fast and avoid that scenario at all costs. Callahan nods. All right, I'll let the two of you handle the Revenant, but the rest of us will be focused on the Doctor. When the objective is complete, rendezvous with us ASAP. Alyssa nods, pulling back up her hood. We will rejoin you as soon as the creature has been destroyed. They can send us the rest of the mission details on the way. Let's move out. The Sakati team of 4, led by a man named Benoit, follows the instructions they were given by Craig Delgado to find the apartment that he shares with his younger sister, Claire. Hang back, Benoit says, catching sight of a girl matching Claire's description. She's not alone. Do we proceed? Another Sakati asks. Benoit nods. Anyone that interferes with the apprehension of the target is to be eliminated. He turns to the other members of the team. House, stay further back, in the off chance she attempts to flee while we're taking out her companion. The genetically altered human complies, disappearing into the shadows. The Sakati are assassins, trained to be masters of stealth and infiltration, becoming indistinguishable from the darkness. They are highly sought after for paramilitary security details, counter-espionage teams, and the personal protection of the elite. Hui's patrons have poured tremendous sums of money into hiring Sakati teams directly from the Doctor to ensure the success of Claire's retrieval. At this stage, any lapse in security could prove catastrophic to Hui's overall plans. Assigned to 6 separate teams of 5 members each, the Sakati hired for this mission are the best of all the Doctor's current stock. Individually, each of the 6 team leaders could go toe-to-toe with the parasitically enhanced warriors of Khan's legendary crew. As a unit, they have never failed to complete a mission. Because of this success rate, the price tag behind hiring these Sakati could fund the small city's fiscal budget for years. Always striving to improve upon his hybridization process, the Doctor is never one to leave well enough alone. The competition among the Sakati units is fierce, and only the top prospects are chosen to undergo the gene therapy to make their enhancements permanent. Most of the lower-class assassins and trainees receive only temporary boosts of Sakari and demon powers through the injection of special blood serum cocktails. Unlike the low success rate of creating GX-enhanced warriors, boosting soldiers with demon and Sakari blood is nearly 100% effective. We're being followed, Jake says. Do you have any idea who it could be? Maybe the guys that nabbed Silva? Ymir extends his awareness before quickly responding. It is a half-breed, stronger than a normal human, but he should not be much of a threat. We should try and avoid a confrontation with Claire nearby. Can we lose them? With Sakari blood, half-breeds tend to be excellent trackers. It will be far more difficult if they are tracing our energy. How much farther is it to your apartment? Jake asks. Claire gives him a puzzled look. Is my company that boring? Or are you just scared to be out this late? Jake realizes he's insulted her and tries his best to awkwardly smooth things over. It's nothing like that. I was just curious. I didn't know that you had to walk this far to work every day. Claire laughs. It really isn't that far. It usually takes me less than an hour. Our pursuer is closing in, Yamura says. We cannot continue to ignore him for much longer. Damn it. Claire, get underneath that bench, Jake says, pointing to a stone bench away from the main street. What? Her voice cracks with fear and surprise. No way! What's wrong with you? I know this sounds like a weird request, but it's for your own safety. There's someone following us. Claire begins to understand his concern, but is not any more receptive to his request. Is it a mugger? Jake shakes his head. I don't think they're after money. How would you know that? She's known since her first time meeting Jake that there's something strange about him. But now, she questions more than ever what kind of dark past he's hiding. Benoit steps into view behind them, announcing his presence. I'm surprised that you could sense me following you, the Sakati says. I underestimated you. You must not be an ordinary human. I'm just at the right place at the right time, Jake says. Has the girl hired you to be her protector? I wasn't aware she even knew she was in danger. Jake, what's going on? Claire is terrified and shaking. Who is this guy? Claire, just go and hide, Jake growls, his voice deepening as Yamura's power begins to leak out through his adrenaline. The girl again starts to protest, but Jake angrily shouts at her to elicit cooperation. Something in his voice floods Claire with absolute dread, and she nods in tears. Don't go too far, Benoit says, grinning. When I'm done killing your boyfriend, I'm coming for you. Jake lowers into a fighting stance, seriousness and intensity painted on his face. You're making a big mistake, kid, Benoit warns. Rushing the assassin, Jake attacks with a blitz of fast punches and kicks. Benoit manages to block each strike, but is pushed back in surprise. The surprise is short-lived, and the experienced fighter manages to connect with a left hook that knocks Jake to his back. He's stronger than I thought, Jake says, wiping a streak of blood from his lips. He must have been suppressing his energy. Do you need me to take care of him? Yamura asks. Jake smiles, standing back up. I'm not always going to rely on you. I've got to handle things sometimes myself. Charging the Sakati again, Jake increases the ferocity of his attacks. Benoit continues to block, giving no ground to the team. Jake! Claire screams, panic in her voice. Jake turns to see two more Sakati shoving the girl to the pavement. Don't take your eyes off me, kid, Benoit shouts, striking Jake in the back of the head. Jake immediately loses consciousness, his eyes rolling back before his body ever hits the ground. Seeing Jake fall, Claire feels all hope for her safety is lost. Whoever these men are, she just knows that they are going to rape and kill her. Shut her up, Benoit growls. She'll attract unwanted attention. Claire begins to scream even louder for help, but is backhanded to the ground by one of the assassins. Her lips busted open and bleeding, she looks up at her attacker in tears. Make a sound, House threatens. I dare you. Black electricity sparkles around Jake's body, and a black oil spreads out from his scalp, darkening his hair. The teen's eyes snap open. Iris is now completely red in color. What the hell? Benoit whispers as Yamura rises to his feet. Before he can react, the Sakari's hand has already penetrated his chest. The assassin chokes on his own blood, unable to utter a scream. House draws a sidearm, shouting in surprise. Yamura raises a hand, consuming the other assassin in black fire before he can squeeze off a single shot. Torn by indecision, the third assassin debates whether to flee or attack. Self-preservation wins the day, and he tries to run, but is blocked by Yamura.
Without a sound, the Sicarii tears out the assassin's throat and tosses the bloody mess into the street. The assassin staggers back, blinking in disbelief as he dies within seconds. Claire cowers behind the bench, terrified of what she is witnessing. She no longer notices the sting of her bleeding lip or the smell of burned flesh. Not long ago, Yamura would have considered killing the girl for witnessing him in action. Now, he realizes that he needs Jake's full cooperation in defeating Kui and his followers. Crouching, he waits for Jake to regain consciousness. Seal Aselaire, Yamura whispers, concentrating to draw in the essences of the men he has just slain to become spell markings on his skin, to be used at a later time as a means of healing or restoring his stamina. "Are you a devil?" Claire asks, still too frightened to approach. "What do you know of such creatures, girl?" Yamura growls. "Enough to know you aren't a human." "Was Jake ever a real person?" "Jake still exists," Yamura says, annoyed by the young human. "We share this form against our will. There are many things in this world that you should remain ignorant of for your own safety." He relinquishes control to Jake as soon as the team comes around. "Ow," Jake moans, rubbing the back of his head. He's oblivious to their current situation. "I guess we won," he whispers aloud. "Jake?" Claire whispers in disbelief, noticing he has again changed in appearance and temperament. "What are you?" "Ah, crap," Jake sighs, unable to form any other response after being outed by Claire. His secret is no longer hidden, and he knows he needs to tell her something. "Don't even think about lying to me. I know you can't be human. So what the hell are you?" Jake struggles to decide what exactly he should tell Claire. If he tells her the truth, what consequences will there be for the both of them? "I sense more half-breeds nearby," Yamura interrupts. "Damn, there were more? We need to get Claire to safety before we deal with the stragglers." Pulling Claire along by the hand, Jake runs back towards his apartment. "Stop! Where are we going?" Claire shouts. "More of those guys are coming after us. I have to get you someplace safe." "No!" Claire shouts, pulling free from him. "I'm not going anywhere with you until you tell me what's going on." "Who are you, really?" "I promise. I'll tell you everything as soon as we get to shelter, but right now we're not safe. Please, trust me." Claire stares at him for a few long seconds. "I'm probably crazy, but okay. I do trust you." Jake nods, and the two of them run down the street trying to stay ahead of the remaining Sicarii. "Form into 3 groups, the Sicarii team leader says. "One goes to her apartment, another to where she works. The 3rd group will keep following them and hopefully save the other 2 teams any trouble." Jake reaches Claire's apartment and impatiently looks around as the girl unlocks the door. "We have 15 half-breeds on our trail," Yamura says. "I don't think they know who I am, but if any of them go by our handiwork, it won't take them long to find out. Everyone there will most likely be tortured and killed." "Damn it," Jake thinks in anger. "Why does this shit have to keep happening? Everywhere I go, people die." "We cannot continue to run. They will track us down here eventually. At some point, we will have to stand our ground." "And fight all of them? That's suicide. Can you take that many enemies all at once?" "There is a way," Yamura says, "but it's risky. I have not utilized the maneuver enough to have much confidence in it." "Do you mean that dragon flame thing?" "I was desperate before. I did not allow the flames to fully mature before releasing them. The black flame is extremely dangerous. It channels the darkest energies from where I do not even know." "Where did you even learn such a thing?" "During my training with Ashkelon. He was the Sabati assigned to train me to become a great warrior. When Inyana and Marduk betrayed my father, it was Ashkelon who stood up to them and saved me. Were it not for him, I would have perished alongside Eliel and my father." "I'd like to hear more about him one day, if we survive this."
Yamura nods. We shall. I will not allow half-breeds to kill us. Not after all that we have been through. Jake laughs. Yeah, it would be pretty pathetic to be killed by a bunch of hired killers after battling and surviving against the likes of Inyana and Konko. You had better start explaining things, Claire shouts, snapping Jake out of his internal conversation. What the hell is going on here? Who the hell are you, really? Jake takes a deep breath, having dreaded this moment. He had hoped he would never have to expose his secrets to anyone, especially not Claire. I haven't lied to you about anything. My name really is Jake Stewart, and I really did run away from my family up north. What I neglected to mention is that I have the spirit of a Sakari sharing my body with me. A Sakari? Claire looks at him as if he just claimed he was Abraham Lincoln's ghost. What is that? Is that like a demon or something? Jake's eyes narrow on the girl in suspicion. What do you know about that kind of stuff? Claire takes a deep breath herself. I think we've both been keeping secrets from each other.